Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another weekly dose of the rundown. Joined in, as always, my brother from another, all the way from the O with the Fly Magic sweater on. My boy, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good today, man. How you doing?
Doing all right. That show took some getting used to, man. I feel like you've been away for a little bit.
What was it? Probably about like 2 weeks.
Almost 2 weeks. I had to get through this move and whatnot. So took a little time away from the show, but we are back. We are back and better than ever. A lot of content to get through. A lot of content that we do need to get to. First thing, we got to go to the NCAA because there has been so much going on in the NCAA. You are a Canes alumnus, and the Miami Hurricanes do not play when it comes to their football. I wish we could talk to Mike. I mean, if Mike's watching and he wants to call in, feel free because I know he goes hard for the Canes football too. But I had to get your perspective on this. Manny Diaz, head coach of the Canes football team for I want to say what 2 years, only 2 years, gets fired, but before he gets fired, the head coach of the Oregon football team just led to a bowl actually the CFP. No, I'm sorry, they didn't get in the CFP. But um I mean bring him in before they fire Manny Diaz, then fire Manny Diaz after he accepts, and they're buying his contract out. The head coach of the Oregon Ducks, not Manny Diaz. Kay, what's going on over there?
Like you said, it was only 2 years for him, but it wasn't the greatest 2 years, as you can see. In Miami's been trying to get back to their days, but the AD left. I think what's his name? Jake Blake, James Blake, something like that. Sorry if I got his name wrong. He left, so I think after he left, I think the writing was kind of on the wall for Manny Diaz. It's kind of like the same thing in like an NBA if a GM leaves. When you bring a new AD in or a new GM in, it's like the coach that's here right now is not your guy. I think a lot of people are high on Oregon's coach, and that's why they brought him in. Even the fans are kind of hyped for him. So he's from Miami. I think Manny Diaz is from Miami too, though. So uh, I just think it's like I said, it's one of those things where it's like new GM, new AD. It seems like it's a short turnaround, but like we talked about it, even in different leagues, like when you get a new GM, new AD, it's kind of writing on the wall before you see that this is not their guy, and they probably want to bring in someone else. The crazy thing is, I think they didn't hire a new AD yet, but the rumor was there that they were going after Clemson's AD, so I guess they kind of know who they want already. Maybe they just kind of working out the contract and things like that. So they know who they want already, and maybe this is the guy that he wanted, and maybe this is all kind of grouped into one. So like I said, new AD, it was kind of time to change things over, and the way things were going, it wasn't going that great anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they not like they don't have players over there. Derek King, as far as college football goes, is a baller. Transferred in from Houston a couple years ago. He hasn't made his decision on whether or not he's going to return to Miami for a final season. But it's going to be interesting moving forward to see what they do. Other coaching carousels going on. Lincoln Riley, head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, or should I say former head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, and probably the biggest shocker in sports decides, he's going, and this is when Oklahoma at the time is like still alive for the CFP, decides that he's going to leave Oklahoma. And a day after he said that he was not going to take the LSU job, he leaves Oklahoma to go to USC. Now, I think that this is a huge hiring, not just off the fact that Lincoln Riley is leaving a program that he really built up for a ton of success. They've been in the college football player for a couple of years. He's going to USC, which is a national brand, historically good program as far as football goes, but just as sorry, has fallen off in the last couple of years. You know, been very irrelevant, which I know a lot of people over in the USC fan base and close to USC are just not interested or not used to. So what do we think? What are we thinking about this? I'm still trying to wrap. It's been over a week now, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around that move.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said, like you said, he said he wasn't going to leave. I think, like you said, USC has been a big historical football program. So I think for him, it's kind of upgrade to get to that program. So it's gonna be interesting to see kind of where they go. It's just kind of like the same thing with Miami a little bit. It's one of those programs they're trying to get back. That was a great program. So they're making changes over there. If they see him as the head coach that can make the change, I think it's interesting, like you said, that he said he wasn't going to leave. But like I said, it's probably an upgrade for him going from Oklahoma to USC's football. So I mean, congrats to him for making the move. But I wonder how his players ultimately feel about that and how that's kind of gonna go in the long run.
Yeah, there were some comments, even with you know, Coach Kelly leaving Notre Dame to take the LSU job. There were a ton of comments over there too. It's been an interesting time in college football where I think, first of all, the CFP ended up coming out. We get teams that we're kind of looking like we were not expecting all this, and the final four for the college football playoff end up being Alabama, which is a bit of a shocker. It's not really a shocker, but when you think about the season that the Crimson Tide had, it was definitely a bit of an off year. And now with them getting in and being number one, you match up against Cincinnati first for that first bowl game. You got to think Alabama is going to win that there. And then here I bring this up to transition over to the fact that Michigan, who was not in the top 25 preseason rankings, Jim Harbaugh, who people have called for his job because let's just face it, he could not get it done. Not that they were doing bad overall, but could not beat Ohio State. And that was one of the biggest reasons why you bring him over there. That's the biggest rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan. Could not beat them. And Ohio State's in there pretty much entrenched to get in the CFP. They get blown out by Michigan. In the game, Michigan goes on to win the Big Ten championship against Iowa, blowing them out way worse than they blow out Ohio State. They're in as the 2 seed going up against Cincinnati. Excuse me, I said Cincinnati's in at 4. And Michigan's going to go up against Georgia. Alabama, to me, wins the national championship this year. I'm giving Michigan a shot. But to me, it's Michigan versus Alabama for the national championship. I think they're pretty inept at Georgia. I just think Michigan is a better team than Georgia. And I don't know. Like, what I was mad about was the fact that Cincinnati got in. And people could sit here and say, well, Cincinnati went undefeated this season. It's been a historic year for them. Tell me who they've really beaten. Because Cincinnati, there's teams that finished outside that top 4 to me that are better than Cincinnati. And unbiasedly speaking, Ohio State is one of them. If you were to go to like an 8-game playoff or something, Cincinnati should get in. But if you're going to stick to this 4-game playoff, and we're being logical when you look at best wins and whatnot, because yes, the losses hurt you in college football, and Ohio State's a 2-loss team. But if you've got eyes and just know anything, Ohio State's a better team than Cincinnati.
But isn't Ohio State in the same conference as Michigan?
Yes.
Do you think that conference were good enough to get 2 teams in this year?
I think that those teams, when you look at things, Michigan and Ohio State are better. To me, you can make the argument for Georgia, but to me, Michigan and Ohio State are better than Georgia and Cincinnati. And especially Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati really has any business being there.
I think that's where some discrepancy probably comes in. They probably didn't want to put two teams from that conference in.
But they put 2 teams in the SEC in, and we just saw Alabama completely, shock us all with the job they did against Georgia. And I get it, it's the SEC, but if we're being, let's just be logical about things. That's my whole thing. I feel like this was a feel good story because people were really going to come down on them if Cincinnati didn't get in. But we got to be logical about this. Cincinnati is not better than, to me, is not better than, not even just Ohio State, a couple teams that didn't end up getting into the CFP.
Yeah, but then even in that case, then you had basically two conferences took over the whole
It's fine.
tournament thing. I think, like you said, in the sense that Cincinnati was a feel good story, and they probably didn't want to put having two conferences dominate the whole thing. Probably played a factor into that. Whether it's right or wrong, you know how this thing goes. It's kind of like the MVP thing, where like a story sometimes sells, and I think a story and just the fact that some of those teams were in the same conference probably hurt it a little bit.
I just, I'm thinking it. I don't think it should matter about conferences dominating it. I think that the best teams should get in, and I don't believe that all the best teams got in. I mean, we people have been having arguments about the layout of the college football playoff for a couple of years now. I'm one of the people that say that they need to expand it past 4 teams. It just makes more sense to me. But who am I?
Yeah, I definitely can see that. It took them a while to even expand it to four. I think to get it to eight may take a little while longer, but like you said, it's probably not right, but that's just how things go sometimes. Like I said, there's a lot of things that probably aren't right, but this is how it go. That's just how it went. It's gonna go. Not saying that it should be stuck like that forever, but like I said, same thing with the MVP situation where it's like stories sell. Sometimes it doesn't matter who's the best player. It's who has the better compelling story and the better season sometimes.
Yeah, it is what it is when it comes to that. Let's move over to the NFL. New York football is bad. New York football stinks. And when I say New York football, I'm talking about the Giants and the Jets. Now, for those of you people that say Buffalo is in New York, yes, geographically it is in New York, but it is not the New York team. That's Buffalo, that's South Canada, no disrespect. But if you really want to include them, we can include them because the Buffalo Bills got completely spanked against the New England Patriots last night. Just blown out the water. New England runs it down their throats in that running game. No answers, no answers on the defensive side for the Bills. And then Mac Jones, I believe, only threw for like 19 yards. Like was like 2 for 3 for 19 yards. So that was an embarrassing loss. I know Sean McDermott was really, ticked off about how things went. And, he had the comment about let's not give Bill Belichick too much credit and wasn't trying to be funny. He was being dead serious. So there's that. And I believe that the Bills are in danger of missing the playoffs now. They're New England is back in the saddle. They're sitting atop. They've won 7 games straight. For the people that wanted to call it early, if it was Tom, not Belichick, he's out here. He heard it all, and he took names, and he's out here showing y'all what he could do with a rookie quarterback. It's a flex when you beat a team like the Bills and your quarterback only threw it 3 times for 19 yards, and then you don't just beat the Bills, but you handle them.
Yeah, definitely. I think we talked about this on here. I think maybe last episode. Like you said, he's motivated to prove. And like I said, two people could be great. When you go back and look at it, it's going to be proven that he was a great coach. Tom Brady was a great player. So, like I said, he's motivated. He does have a rookie quarterback out there, but he's showing that like with the 79ers a couple years ago with Garoppolo, like maybe the quarterback doesn't have to play great as long as the defense and other players play up to their potential and they follow the coach's game plan and things like that, they'll still be able to get some wins. So it's gonna be interesting to see how far he can take them because I know he's motivated to get that Super Bowl. So
I think they
yeah,
can. I think they can go all the way to the Super Bowl.
but you don't think they could win it?
They could win it.
Yeah, I could. I,
See that?
I could see them getting there. And once you're in there, you just got to take your chances.
If we said it, we said it a couple weeks ago. If the Patriots and the Bucks meet in the Super Bowl, it'll probably be the most watched Super Bowl in the history of sports. Probably be one of the biggest, sporting events in the history of sports.
The stories are definitely there. If you think about that, 2020 NBA Finals with the Heat, LeBron and the Lakers, the stories it'd be something along those lines where the stories are definitely there. So
I didn't,
that's
but I didn't feel that yes, LeBron's playing the Heat, which is his former team. He went there and really established himself. Winning his first titles there. I didn't really feel too much buzz though with that finals. I mean, yes, the stories were there, but I think there's a lot more buzz if the Patriots meet the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. When they played this year, the game was super close. Mac Jones even almost got them to win, but they won 6 championships. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick won 6 championships together. Went to eight Super Bowls? No, 9 Super Bowls together. Like that. I think that there's just a lot more there.
I definitely agree with you, and just for the fact that it's it's only one game. Like it's like with the NBA Finals it being a 7 game thing, it's like the Lakers look more dominant, so eventually it will die down. But with it being a just winner take all type of game, and with everything you just said, it definitely would be more. It'll be felt more like you were saying.
Yeah, 100%. Now, to get back to the topic of New York football stinks, the Jets are bad. The Giants are bad. Where do I start? The Jets and the Giants actually both won the week prior. Giants beat the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a surprising win when you look at what Philadelphia had been doing up to that point. And then the Jets also go out and get a win as well. What my takeaways were from the wins was, specifically with the New York Giants, was their offense didn't win them that game. Daniel Jones looked good, but he didn't light it up. They didn't again. The touchdowns were lacking. Freddie Kitchens calling plays, and in that game, I thought the offense looked better under Freddie Kitchens. We didn't expect too much of a difference with it being this late in the season as far as schemes and things like that, but it wasn't impressive. It was all about the defense, and the defense and Patrick Graham have really been this team's saving grace the last 2 years now. And then, you watch the Giants play against the Miami Dolphins on Sunday with, Daniel Jones out with an neck strain. So Mike Glennon comes in. And again, the offense just doesn't look spectacular at all. So, don't know if Freddie Kitchens is the answer. I'm leaning towards clearing house, completely. And it's crazy, friend of the show, Tim, I was speaking to him, and, I've made up my mind on Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is not great. He's not bad, but he's not great. He just is who he is. He's not going to, if you want Daniel Jones to be the guy to put you over the top, it's not going to happen. He can't do that. But, he can be consistent. He can be a game manager. He can run with his legs. He's just good, not great. That's how I feel about Daniel Jones. Now, I don't like it. I don't want it. But if they were to stick with him, I'm not going to completely hate it. I just think eventually I don't see Daniel Jones as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on here a couple of times. This year was his year to show if he was a franchise quarterback. He said he had the weapons, he had everything he needed. So, and like we talked about it this before on here too. There's gonna be some quarterbacks maybe coming up that the Giants maybe want to try and grab. So, like you're saying, like this was his year to kind of show that. He hasn't really shown that. Like you said, he's not the greatest, he's not the worst, but he's just he is who he is, like you said. So, but there's going to be some maybe great quarterbacks coming up here that the Giants maybe can grab. So I think they should keep their options open. So in a sense, it may be a thing where it's like maybe nothing against him, but sometimes it's like when the Raptors traded for Kawhi, you just got a better player. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and they spent way too much money for me to be like, hey, they're going to just blow it up. I think their best move is to bring a veteran in there, number one. The other thing I noticed about the Giants, and specifically before I move to that, one of the other tests besides on-field play that Daniel Jones has been failing is, best ability, availability. he's been hurt every year of his career and had to miss games because of it. And we were really, as Giants fans, we were completely spoiled by Eli Manning, the Iron Man, where, he never missed. The only time he didn't start was because they decided to, pull him away. One of the worst things we've ever seen. So that's just another thing where Daniel Jones is lacking in, and why you should have Colt. I was all for bringing Colt McCoy back as your backup because he's a quality backup. I don't see that in Mike Glennon, and it's another reason why I don't believe in Freddie Kitchens, because Mike Glennon, while not a great quarterback, played better with the Jaguars a year ago than he is with the Giants right now. Now, what I want to bring up specifically with the New York Giants in this front office, they go out and signed Jake Fromm, former University of Georgia quarterback, was drafted in the 5th round by the Buffalo Bills. Had not dressed at all until last week when he signed with the New York Giants to be their backup. And you got to think he does that move, decided, hey, I'm going to leave the Bills, quality possible playoff team, to go here because he felt like he had an opportunity to start a game there, a game or a couple of games there, especially with Mike Glennon out now with a concussion or in the concussion protocol. One thing, I don't know if you remember this, Kay. I do. I watched Jake Fromm at Georgia. He was a good quarterback, not great. Nothing out there said spectacular. And what a lot of executives outside of the Giants front office are saying is he's not an NFL quarterback. He doesn't have arm strength. Basically what they said is he's good to hand the ball off. There's so many other people between practice squad and, even people that aren't even in the NFL right now. I can allude to someone, but I'm not going to name names, that you could have picked up, and this is who you go with. So when I see that, what I just think of is ineptitude. And I think like it's not working. I'm not even just thinking coaching staff at this point. I think a lot of people need to get fired at the end of this season, not just Dave Gettleman. I think a lot of people in that front office got to go.
Yeah, definitely, because it's been some change, but for the most part, especially front office wise, it's been kind of the same people. Like you said, we've been calling for Dave Gettleman for a while, so it just hasn't been working since that the time they went to Miami and got on the boat. So it's time to clean house and really start all over and just start from the top. Like you said, blow it all up. It has been working. It's been years now, and just start from the top. Like you said, I think it starts with the GM, but you go from there. I think you could maybe keep some of the offensive pieces. So, and then maybe you go from there. But because, like I said, we talked about it on here. They have the weapon. So you think maybe if you get a different quarterback in there, maybe some things are different. So maybe you can keep some pieces in there. But I don't blame anyone that for what you said. If you want to clean house, because it hasn't been working for years. We cannot hear you, Rich.
Okay, sorry. When you think of clearing house, I think a lot of us are thinking, all right, fire the coaching staff and get rid of Dave Gettleman. No, I'm saying go further than that. Get rid of a majority of the people that are in that front office as well. I seem like even Chris Mara. Chris Mara is not going to get fired. That's family. I highly doubt John Mara is going to fire his nephew. But everybody else, being realistically, and if they're smart here, gotta go. Like gotta go. This is to this point, it's bad. And for those of you that don't know, in the 70s, this was the New York Giants, and that is the territory that we're heading in right now. We're kind of there already. They've been to one playoff. They've been in the playoffs once in a decade, and that was in 2016 and the whole boat trip. And I don't want to get into that because it's just been downhill since all that happened.
Someone said we need to sign Colt McNuggets.
He's talking about Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy is great. He's a quality backup. We had him a year ago. They decided to let him go to Arizona, and we've seen him again in Arizona. And what I like about Colt McCoy is he knows who he is. He knows he's a backup, and he knows he's a quality backup. What I believe needs to happen with the Giants. Two things. You can either go in and draft a quarterback in this draft class, and this isn't a strong quarterback class, albeit I'll admit there is a prospect or two that I do like in this class, but not a strong quarterback class. So you could wait, or you could go in and you could sign a veteran. Now, I just heard some crazy news about Deshaun Watson. I'm not going to get into it too much on the show, but I will say, let's push the expectations on him playing in the NFL back because it's not looking good for him right now. So let's take Deshaun Watson off the table. You got the Aaron Rodgers thing going on. Jimmy Garoppolo, things are looking shaky over there. It's a high possibility that he's going to get moved from the 49ers. That's someone as well. We don't know what the future holds for a Jameis Winston when he comes back because, hey, this is nice to talk about. Sean Payton, there's rumors that he's open to leaving the New Orleans Saints. You know, the New Orleans Saints, especially, you know, since Jameis has went out, you know, it's been tough over there. And he's made the comments about how it's tough not winning and he would like a change. Now, I have gone off about how the Giants need to stop, you know, hiring people with connections to the Giants. I would not be mad if they found a way, because you would have to trade for Sean Payton. If they found a way to get Sean Payton over there, I would not be mad. Sean Payton was the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants once upon a time ago. This was actually the time when, you know, they perennial playoff team for a couple years in the early 2000s, and the year they went to the Super Bowl that we're not going to talk about because, you know, that was bad. But you know, I could see him, you know, like, hey, I'll go over here. But then you also got to think about, I call him a quarterback guru, and maybe he definitely could make Daniel Jones look good. But there's also the possibility of him wanting someone else, whether that's an Aaron Rodgers, a Russell Wilson, you know, so on and so forth. What do we say to that? Do you do if Sean Payton is willing to come to the New York Giants? Do you say it's been nice having you, Joe Judge, but it's Sean Payton? And do you give in to any demands that Sean Payton has?
Uh, I could see them doing it in the sense that Sean Payton has showed us that he can win, especially regular season games. He can at least get you to the playoffs. They haven't had as much success in the playoffs, but he's shown that he can win. So and I think players will want to play for him, especially in a market like New York. So I think that'll help you free agency wise. So he's proven that he's a winner. He's proven that he can definitely coach up a defense. And I think quarterbacks, if you've seen what his name is slipping me right now. The
James
guy,
West,
no, the quarterback just retired. I
Drew Brees,
Drew Brees. You see what Drew Brees did with his time under him, and even he just said his name.
everybody,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody. Brees, Teddy Bridgewater, uh, you know, Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill looks comparable while he's there, and I don't believe he's really a quarterback, to be honest with you. Even Trevor Simeon hasn't looked terrible in Sean Payton's offense, and we know Trevor Simeon isn't a good of a quarterback in the NFL.
definitely. Everyone's name is slipping my mind right now. Y'all, excuse me, I had a long day. But yeah, definitely. Like I said, he's shown that he's a winner, especially in the regular season. He can get you to the playoffs. He definitely can coach up a good defense, and I think quarterbacks want to play for him. So I think if they have the opportunity, it's definitely something they should entertain.
Yeah, and I mean, even if they were to stick with Daniel Jones, you got Sean Payton. Look, I wouldn't even be mad. Like I said, and I have reason to believe that Godey's disciple X is Tim. So Tim, if that's you, can you please confirm? Um, Sean Payton, like we just said, we just named all those quarterbacks. I'm gonna name you another one. When Sean Payton was the offensive coordinator for the Giants, Kerry Collins. Kerry Collins was looked at as a colossal bust in the NFL, playing for team. You know, the Carolina came out of Penn State, playing for the Carolina Panthers. Giants decided to pick him up, and in Sean Payton's offense, Kerry Collins did a really good job. You know, so when you look at what he's been able to do with different quarterbacks, and then you look at Daniel Jones' attributes, you know, he doesn't have arm talent, but he's got a big arm, and then he can run. You can do something with that, you know. So you know, I would feel a lot better about this franchise if they could bring Sean Payton in,
I don't
regardless
bl-
of personnel.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And then, like you said, if you talk about cleaning house too, like it's the same thing we were just talking about with Miami. But sometimes when you clean house, you want to get rid of that coach too because it's not the GM's coach. So if Sean Payton's gonna be out there and you're planning on cleaning house anyway and going for a new head coach, then I'm definitely with it. And you said he spent some time with the Giants already, so
Most def. But for now, these are just dreams.
you can,
So
you can dream big.
yeah. Let's move on to the NBA, man. The Sacramento Kings made the firing of Luke Walton. Making it going to the bench interim. Going and making now people are slipping my mind. My people's names are slipping my mind. Alvin Gentry, making Alvin Gentry the interim head coach for the Kings, and it's been working out for him. And this just kind of goes to my point of it was Luke Walton all along. If you had a different coach in place, you wouldn't have had all these lottery picks and this log jam on the roster of who starts where and whatnot. And also, so far from what I've been seeing from the Kings and proving again that Luke Walton was just bad, I'm watching Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox go off together. And you had Buddy Hield coming off the bench.
I'm not gonna put it all on Luke Walton. Yes, he deserves a lot of the blame, but it's not all his fault. The Kings were really bad before he got there. The Kings were not gonna become great just because he got there. Uh, they have been playing better. Also, Bagley is now being played more. You seen he hit a big shot for them. He played well in that game against the Lakers. Sometimes teams switch coaches and then play very well under that new coach for a stretch. So I want to see if they can continue this, obviously. But Luke Walton deserves a lot of the blame. But all of the blame, no. They were terrible before he got there. When he left, they were still terrible.
They were bad. But when you look at the pieces that they were able to put together, and you can't deny this, a lot of people, myself included, and I feel like you to a degree were saying that's a promising future over there. He's gone now, and we're seeing glimpses of that with these guys. They're right outside of the play-in right now. They were almost dead last while he was coaching there.
De'Aaron Fox was there before he got there. Buddy Hield was there before he got here. So a couple of those guys were there before he got there.
Young play, but Buddy Hield was in his second year or going into his second year because I believe he was traded in the middle of his rookie season. And then De'Aaron Fox was drafted before he got the job. No, I'm sorry. De'Aaron Fox went through his rookie year without him. So you had, when he got there, Buddy Hield was in year 3 and De'Aaron Fox was in year 2.
Right.
That's still in development time.
Yes. Here's the thing. Like I said, they were bad before he got there, and we all know he was not really the coach to get them out of it. So I think Mark Jackson has said this before, and I'm kind of paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly how he said. Like, there are certain coaches that you need to get you out of, to start getting you into good, I forgot what they call it right now, to get you on that good path, get you out of them bad habits that you guys have, start changing the culture. He wasn't the guy that was about to come in there and change the culture. What he did with the Warriors before he got that job, or with the Lakers, he kind of came in and took over.
Me and you could coach the Warriors. Like, that's not saying much. Like, we know what Mike Brown is as a head coach. Mike Brown was winning playoff games as the interim coach, as the acting coach for the Warriors when Steve Kerr had to step away for health reasons. So that's not really saying much when he coached the Warriors for that small stretch for the regular season.
And that's exactly my point. He wasn't a coach that was going to come in there and change that culture. He got it bad. He left it bad. It's his fault because he's supposed to be able to change that, and he didn't. But, like, a lot of coaches went in there before him and was not able to change it. The Kings are just a bad franchise right now. He deserves a lot of the blame. Players did not get better under him. He did not change the culture over there. He did not get them into winning ways. But it's not all his fault. He wasn't put in the greatest situation.
I got to push back on you a little bit, though. Like, no, they weren't good. But when you have promise there, you're supposed to, that's what makes a good coach. I'm not talking great. A good coach. A good coach can develop promising talent. He didn't do that. Not only did he not do that, but then he started putting him on the bench, like benching Buddy Hield, having Buddy Hield go, from the bench, especially when there wasn't a better option at the two, was one of the most dumbest things I've ever seen. Even the Marvin Bagley, we talked about what Marvin Bagley has averaged. Marvin Bagley's numbers weren't terrible. And bad standing there. Marvin Bagley doesn't look that terrible under Alvin Gentry right now. A lot of these guys look better under Alvin Gentry than they did with Luke Walton. Now, I don't know if they're going to get into play-in or not, but the fact that they're even in that position now says a lot to me.
Also, Alvin Gentry has always been known as a great offensive coach. So you figure you bring him in there as the intern coach, that your offense and those players are probably going to be playing a lot better on offense. He's probably head and above shoulders of offensive coach than Luke Walton is. And you think about what he did with the Suns back in the day. So to see people's numbers spike up and things like that, they are winning and they deserve credit for it. But my point here is that we've seen good coaches go into bad situations and not be able to change just that bad culture that's going on over there. He wasn't the greatest coach. I agree with you on that point. So I'm not surprised, and I'm not going to put it all on him. He wasn't able to get them out of where they were. They maybe had a little more talent with Halliburton and those guys over there than maybe he got the team with. But, he wasn't the guy for the job. So, he was put, I wouldn't say he's put in a bad situation, but he wasn't put in the greatest situation, and he didn't have the greatest results. That's kind of what you should expect.
Yeah, I hear you there. So before we move on to the next topic here, do you think Alvin Gentry, based on what you're seeing so far, do you think he's doing a good enough job where he can become the next head coach of the Sacramento Kings?
Yes, I think he's a candidate. Like I said, he's gonna. We know what he can do as a head coach. We've seen what he does, especially offensively. So if he can keep this up for the rest of the year, I definitely think he'll be one of the head candidates. I think there's other people maybe they possibly could look at, but I think he definitely should be the head candidate. I think, which we don't know what's going on with Mark Jackson, but I think Mark Jackson has proven that he can turn a bad franchise around.
I would love Mark Jackson. I'm sorry to cut you off. I would just love to see Mark Jackson get another shot in the NBA, and I think the Kings could be a team Warriors-esque as far as the promise of a backcourt like that. Because I think right now Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox in any other coach's mind is your starting backcourt. No,
I mean Halliburton deserves a lot of looks at that too. Now, unless you're gonna play him at the three.
I like Halliburton a lot more as a point guard, though. I think he's a very good facilitator. He's always been a point guard to me. I think the other guys like Davion Mitchell, you could probably play at a two.
Possibly, there's obviously those two are your starters. I think, like I said, Halliburton deserves a lot of looks for at that two spot, and I think eventually Mitchell is coming, bro, and I think he's gonna have a lot of looks for that one spot. So I think they have a good bad problem. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox has been there for a while, and if you think it's not working out with him, it's maybe time to move on from those two. Depends on the direction they want to go. They can try to go for it, like I said, and bring in Mark Jackson. It's someone who's proven he can turn a bad franchise around and go from there. They could reboot this whole thing, clean house, get rid of Fox, get some pieces back, get rid of Buddy Hill, get some pieces back, and then you have a backcourt of Mitchell and Halliburton. That's probably good, especially for a rebuilding team for a while until you get some more pieces. And then you get Marvin Bagley out of there, and you just clean our house altogether.
It's gonna be an interesting thing to see moving forward for sure. I wanted to talk about the hottest team in the NBA. Yes, I'm saying that. The Houston Rockets, the team with the longest win streak in the NBA right now, going for 7 against the Brooklyn Nets. Realistically, the streak probably ends here against Brooklyn, but they've been fun to watch. It seems like things, Silas started playing with lineups a little bit and looks like he found lineups that worked. He ended up benching Daniel Tice, because it just wasn't working with him and Christian Woods, moving Christian Woods up to the 5 where Christian Woods just started ascending. Kevin Porter Jr. was looking more and more like a point guard. He's dealing with an injury right now, so he's away. But he started averaging a double-digit assist for a few games. And then even like when the streak first started, Jalen Green looked like he was getting hot too before he got hurt. So what are we thinking about the Houston Rockets now with this 6 game win streak? Are they, we went from saying they're gonna have the number one pick in the NBA draft, worst record in the league, to they're looking pretty nice right now. No, I don't. They're not going to make the playoffs, but how we feeling about this development so far, even with the injuries in place?
I like it. I like that they're getting somewhere. There was a stat that I seen that they have played the, I think, third easiest schedule. They're in this 6 game win streak, but they did have a couple good wins. I forgot against who right now. It's slipping my mind.
I believe they beat the Celtics. That's a very good win. And then even they beat Boston. They beat Chicago, which was a really good win too,
I
considering where
think,
Chicago's been at.
yeah, I think that was the one. So they had a couple good wins. I like the development, like you said. They moved Wood to the 5. That's good. Michael Porter Jr. has been playing better. Really, Eric Gordon deserves a lot of credit. He's been able to come in there and really be a big piece for them, hitting big shots, playing defense, and things like that. Like you said, I don't expect them to make the play in, but the development is good. Obviously, you want to get Green back out there, but it's gonna be interesting to see where they go from there. Because, like I said, Eric Gordon's been playing really well. So, do you move him back to the bench? Do you try to play all three of those guards together to keep kind of what's going? So, I like it. I like the development. Obviously, we knew those guys had talent. It's just gonna take some time to get things going. But I think with Green, with Wood and Eric Gordon leading the way, those are two veterans who definitely can score for you and play defense. So that's good for them, obviously, and let the young guys get some development from there. So getting some wins under their belt, I'm happy for them. So hopefully they can keep it up.
Yeah, and to be realistic, Eric Gordon is going to end up going to the bench when you can get Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green back, because they've told everything that they've done has indicated that this is all about development. They want these guys to develop. Specifically, Kevin Porter Jr. has been a project for them, and they're sticking with him at point guard, even when people have argued that he's not. And so far, when he's played, he's proved, that he can be the point guard for this team moving forward. And that was one of the biggest reasons why you brought Steven Silas in. His reputation as a coach in the NBA, even though he was never a head coach, was that he is very good at developing guards in this league between all the different staffs that he's been on, most recently in Dallas with the Mavericks and what he was able to do with Luka Doncic. So when I watched the Rockets, I actually got to go to the game against Oklahoma City. I saw it firsthand. They look very good. They're starting to look more well coached. And kudos to him for I'm gonna take another shot at Luke Walton. When making a change when you see things aren't working, and smart decisions, saying, hey, Tice, it's not working right now with you in the starting lineup or you in the rotation with Christian Wood. We're gonna play Şengün a little more and move Christian Wood up to the 5. And I think that this in a couple of years this could be a dangerous team when you look at a bunch of different factors there. I'm really excited to see what can happen moving forward. And I say it's logical to say that Gordon goes back to the bench, and this is something I wanted to talk about last week, but we didn't get to have the show. John Wall came out and made it known that he wanted to come back to the team and play. Now the Houston Rockets were all for it. Yeah, we'd love to have you back on the team, and playing and around the team more instead of just practicing. But we're all in on the development of these young guys, and you coming in the starting lineup is going to mess things up for what the plans that we have for Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green. So we would like you to come off the bench. He said no, and they said, all right, we can't move forward with that.
Yeah, I kind of see his point. It'd be good to have him back out there. Obviously, he should just want to do whatever he can do because he just wants to get traded and get out of there. So I think coming off the bench and being that type of player and just buying into the team and showing that he's not going to be a problem, because if he gets traded to, I don't know, a contending team and they're like, come off the bench and he's going to be a problem like that, then a lot of contenders wouldn't trade for him. So he really wants to get back out there because he wants to be traded. So he He wants to get back out there, show teams that he can play, show teams that he's healthy, so he can get traded. But I think him making a scene about starting or not starting or whatever can maybe hurt him more than help him if he wants to get out of there as fast as possible. If I was him, I would just put my head down, play, knowing that I'm just playing so I can get out of there, and then just get out of there. So now some teams that maybe wanted to trade for him, who are thinking about it even a little bit, are probably like, he might be a problem here. So we probably not gonna think about it.
And you know what's crazy about it too is I think he saw his expectations were definitely, I'm just going to sit here and wait for a team to come get me. And what it is these teams are looking at that contract and where he's at in his career, coming off those injuries, saying he's just not worth the money he's being paid. And I feel like he's seeing what's going on and saying, I got to show these teams what I can do. But it makes no sense to me, to say, I got to be a starter, like they're all in on this rebuild. They're all in on this development. You want to show teams what you can do, and you can help the Rockets out in the process. You want to show teams that you can do, you're going to get playing time, come off the bench. And it wasn't like he didn't have a bad year last year, coming off those injuries. Still think he averaged about 20 points a game and whatnot. So he can come off and be a great bench player for them for the time being and, stake his case to go end up on another team. It's just a little weird to me that he decided I'm not coming back unless I'm in the starting lineup. It's not degrading to John. Nobody's saying you're not a starter on a team like this. We're not trying to insult you. We just have a plan.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I was gonna say. He could feel a little way because obviously he should be the starter. Because as much as they want to shape Kevin Porter as the point guard, he's kind of not the point guard. So especially right now, John Wall should be the point guard over him. But like I said, he just wants to get out there to be traded. So I think him coming off the bench and showing that he can be a team player would help him more than maybe even him starting. Because some people are probably thinking about we're not about to trade for him and have space for him maybe in the starting lineup, especially most contending teams are not going to have nowhere for him in the starting lineup. So if he would have came and proved that he has no problem coming off the bench and being that team player, I think that would have helped him. Right now, he only hurt himself, and the goal was really to get out of there.
DeMarcus Cousins goes out. We hadn't heard from him in a while. He signs with the Milwaukee Bucks. Has actually played for them now. We talked about this in a chat with Mike. What did you think about the move, and what have you seen so far?
I think Brook Lopez. I think he's having back surgery, so Brook Lopez is going to be out for some time now. I like the move. He's going to bring you some toughness, and he spaces the floor like Brook Lopez does. Obviously, we've been saying it for a while now with him. It's just, can he stay healthy? If he can stay healthy, he was an all-star talent before that. And now you don't really need him to do that. You need him to come in, kind of be the enforcer like we know him to be, rebound, and space the floor. And if it doesn't work out, you just continue playing Giannis at the 5. But even Giannis said in his press conference, he was like, yo, Brook, I can't wait for you to get back so you can rebound. You just need someone down there to bang and keep Giannis out of there as much. And I think he can do that, and he can stretch the floor. So it's not bad. I like the pickup.
Yeah, most def. I thought that was my biggest thing too. I was a little worried about having him and Giannis there, and Giannis, who's he's not Simmons bad at shooting, but his shooting isn't the greatest. Was he gonna having DeMarcus Cousins there? Was that gonna clog the lane up a bit for him? But no, hasn't showed at all.
Yeah, no, definitely, because DeMarcus Cousins for a while now, even before he got hurt, he was practicing on learning how to stretch the floor. So I think he's going to be out behind that 3-point line on the offense, and then on the defense, he's going to be down there banging with those guys. So, and then you might play him in some lineups without Giannis, so that's when you can get him the ball deep down in the post. And even still, I think Giannis is a good cutter enough where you can kind of throw it down to him a little bit, even with Giannis out there. So just play with a couple of lineups. But I think as long as he can stretch the floor when needed for most of the time with Giannis, it's good. And you think he's probably not going to be ending the game for him. So you don't have to worry about it too much. It's just going to be small stretches where you have to worry about it.
Most def. Hey, Kay, are you ready for this?
I don't think so.
We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. Go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! Say go New York, go New York, go! Go New York.
Go New York. Go New York. Go.
Before we even get into the Knicks, I have to issue out an apology. I want to say, New York Knicks fans, I'm sorry. It is my fault. I should have never said y'all were back. I jumped the gun too soon. The hype, I got on the hype train. I jumped on it. You guys have not looked great since I said y'all was back, and I apologize.
Not only have they not looked great, but you went out and you ruined Kemba Walker's career. Kemba Walker is not even in the rotation of the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau says Alec Burks is our starting point guard moving forward, and Kemba Walker will not even come off the bench. That is a gut punch. It's sad to see. It is sad to see Kemba Walker go out like this because I still think he could play. Unfortunately, the knee just hasn't worked out the way people had hoped. It was a low risk, high reward signing and, just hasn't worked out. I know some teams like the Clippers are interested in Kemba Walker. I've heard rumors that the Knicks would be interested in getting John Wall, but the Knicks would kind of have to gut their team a little bit to get John Wall because you got to make that salary work. So that just makes no sense. I don't know what to think right now, because they were trying to say, look, Alec Burks is out here scoring, but then, that next game that he comes out starting didn't look that great at all either. Like a big criticism of Tibbs is he's not the greatest in-game decision-making coach. Now, I don't know. I thought they kind of hit the panic button a little bit with the benching of Kemba Walker, not coming off the bench, benching of Kemba Walker. And now you're hearing rumors that he's thinking of benching Mitchell. And I know Mitchell hasn't played the greatest either, but as a coach, you got to we have a good enough sample size where we know what Mitchell can do, No, he's been on a slump, but as the coach, you got to find ways to get them to dig out of this. I mean, even Kemba's had some games where he looked pretty good,
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Knicks ruined his career. His career kind of wasn't going the greatest
Just being over dramatic.
Before he got there. Yeah, I don't. I'm not gonna knock it too much. Obviously, like I said, they haven't been doing great since I shouted out that they were back. So Tibbs is just trying to figure some things out. Sometimes when you're trying to figure things out, obviously he had some good games, but he didn't start the season off too good, Kemba. So he's just trying to figure some things out. Figures maybe bench him. I'm pretty sure. The reason why I'm not worried about it too much is because I'm pretty sure Kemba will get back into that lineup. Like I said, he started off the season not feeling too well. Like you said, it could be his knee, whatever. He'll get back in that lineup. I don't think he's benched for the rest of the year. He will go back to Kemba. He's just trying to figure some stuff out right now. Like you say, he might get rid of Mitchell, things like that. They started off great. Things aren't going well. He's trying to figure some things out. So I'm going to let him figure some things out. But I think Kemba will get back into that starting lineup. Even if it's not back in the starting lineup, Kemba will get back into that lineup.
When Tibbs got hired, we kind of went and said we didn't think it was the right hire just because of where the team was at. And they make the playoffs last year and prove us wrong a bit. But, I mean, when I'm looking at this, especially last year when they made the playoffs, one of the things I said was I believe that this could be a Brooklyn Nets situation where he's the coach to bring it back, into the forefront. Like, hey, we're a playoff team again, very similar to Kenny Atkinson. But he won't be here to see it prosper. When I see what's going on with the Knicks, they're in a little trouble a little bit, but it just kind of furthers the idea to me that somewhere down the road, they're going to move on from him.
Antoine, hit my line. We got 50% off this week. I can grab you one. All right, besides the fact, yeah, definitely. I think he may be able to see it through. We see what he's been able to do.
Let me get one of
not. I got 50% off. Hit my line this week. I got you. It's only for this week though, so y'all gotta hit my line this week. Yeah. So I think he might be able to see it through. Tibbs has shown that he's possibly a championship coach. He got obviously with Boston as an assistant coach. Then with the Bulls, he got them to the conference final. So he may be able to see it through. Even so, I don't know where they would go from here if they do fire him. So, but that's looking too far into the future. Tibbs, I think he's trying to figure some things out right now. Season started off great. He probably doesn't know what went wrong. So, was benching Kemba the right thing? I don't know, but I'm gonna give him some time to try to figure this out.
Yeah, facts, Antoine. We really do need those. Um, I am gonna hit your line later, Kay. I promise. Um, I don't know, man. I just don't know. Like, I don't. I'm starting to want. Maybe it's me jumping. I don't know. We got Knicks fan. Antoine's a Knicks fan. You could tell us what you see. Like, maybe I'm just jumping into it too much. I think they're in danger of missing the play. I don't even, they could, like, the way things are going, like, because who do they play? The Spurs. The Spurs are another team that's really hot right now. Like, I actually think the Spurs will beat them when they play them. That might be tonight. And shout out to DeJounte Murray, man. Again, we brought this up on the show before, but he does not get enough cover. He needs more coverage. Like, he's really out here balling. Um, I'm worried that they will miss the play-in the way that things are going for them right now. They just can't be, even like they played against Brooklyn the other night and it was a phenomenal game. They can't close. A lot of things are wrong with them right now.
Yeah, and that's what we thought Kemba was gonna be able to come in and do that for him. I see a lot of people still screaming that R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle are going left and things like that. But you thought Kemba would be able to come in there and take some pressure off of those guys. With Kemba not being the Kemba that we thought we were gonna get, I think hurts them a little bit. Now the pressure kind of falls all back on D Rose to make everything happen.
You can't expect that from D Rose at this point in his career.
Exactly, and that's why I said, and that's why it was a problem for him come playoff time last year. No, that's nothing against D Rose. It's just he needed a little help out there. So they, like I said, they have to figure some things out. The defense hasn't been that great. Like you said, the Spurs have been on a great roll, so the Spurs could possibly get them. But they have to figure some. I don't even think they're in the play-in tournament right now, so they have to
They
figure
might,
things out.
might
And they
just be
have
sitting right outside.
no. Last time I checked, they were out of it.
That's what I mean.
So
They're like right
uh,
outside. They're literally hovering at 500 now.
yeah, so hopefully they can figure this thing out. And like I said, New York, I'm sorry. I said y'all were back too soon. And since I said y'all were back, it's been terrible. That's
A
my
lot of
opinion.
new a lot of news has come out in regards to Damian Lillard this season about what's going to go on with him. He started off struggling a little bit, and um, I actually want to have this conversation because I think I heard I listened to Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max a lot when I drive into work, and they changed the basketball this year. It's not the Spalding basketball anymore. And a lot of people that hoop will tell you, grip of the ball really does matter. So, we've been using the Spalding ball in the NBA for so many years, and to change things up. They felt like the grip of the new ball had an effect on a lot of players in the NBA, not just Dame, but Dame was a specific example. Seems like he's kind of adjusted in a bit because he started looking like Dame again. But that's not really why I'm bringing this up. Dame has come. Number one, he's looking for a contract extension, and they did just fire their GM, and he's looking for a contract extension right now, 2 years. I think he's looking to be like one of the highest, if not the highest paid player in the league with this extension. But it's come out that he wants to play with Ben Simmons. So if I'm Philly, I'm not trading for CJ McCollum. I want Damian Lillard. So I don't see how they're able to make that work, you know. But if you were able to find a way to pair up Dame and Simmons, I think it's big, but I feel like it doesn't do much unless they can get Dame, CJ, and Simmons on the same team, which just isn't realistic.
Right. I get what you're saying. Honestly, I don't know if I would blame the ball, but I think he just doesn't want to be there no more, in a sense. So, yeah, like you said, I mean, if he wants to play with him, obviously you go get him, and I think he knows what it means to get Ben Simmons over there. I think he knows if he wants Ben Simmons, he probably has to give up CJ McCollum because they don't have anything else. So, if that's what he wants to try to keep him happy for being there, then you make the move. But I think it, like you said, it's a mute point because they're only gonna get better if all three of those guys could get on that team. I don't know how they could pull that off, and if they do that, it'd be great. But they don't get better unless it's all three of them, and I don't think that's possible. So I don't know if he thinks that's possible or if he's okay with all right. We're gonna get CJ out of here.
Well, I've been saying it for two years now. You posted it on the story the other day. Portland, it's time to blow it up. Stop holding on. You're not going and it's actually getting worse now than before. These young teams are getting better. Other teams are getting better in the West. You're not. They needed to blow it up low key. And I feel like I said this at the time, like that year after. They needed to blow it up after the Western Conference Finals birth. Like that was your height. You were never going any further than that. I know Dave said he wants to be loyal. It's starting to, you can see it starting to weigh on him. Like I've been saying it for 2 years now. They need to blow this team up.
They needed to blow it up after they lost in the playoffs last year. So, but obviously, yeah, before that. But I think the nail in the coffin was then, even the way like the season started for him this year. So maybe you trade him. Maybe he say he wants to play with Ben, and maybe that's in Philly, not in Portland.
Well, there's also something I wanted to touch on last week. I can't bring it up now since it's up. There was some videos and photos of Ben at the Philadelphia 76ers facilities with the Philadelphia staff, getting some shots in. So could be nearing a return here pretty soon for the Sixers.
Probably not, but maybe. At this point, I don't know if there is no return for that situation. Besides both of them or all of them going their separate ways.
I'm not. Eventually, he's out of there. But right, this isn't going the way that he thought it was going to go. And from what I heard, he doesn't spend his money wisely, and he's just losing money by the day. So I think he's going to end up putting a Sixers jersey on. I don't know when, but sooner or later he's going to end up putting a Sixers jersey on because we're starting to, it's almost Christmas now. So, and nobody's traded for him. So I kind of see him ending up suiting up for them soon.
That's kind of the only thing here because he has to play. Teams have to see him play before anyone's going to make any real big trades for him. If I'm the Sixers, I let him play, but it's the play to get him out of there. And time's ticking because the trade deadline's coming up. So he has to play a decent amount of games before anyone probably really takes the risk on him. So we'll see how it goes.
For some reason, the rumors of Kyrie getting traded out of Brooklyn are still like a thing. Like I just saw the other day, maybe from Bleacher Report, that his name ringing up with the 76ers again.
Because I think Ben for Kyrie trade seems like it would work. It's
interesting. We were talking about that when it wasn't even a realistic thing. Like we just came up with it ourselves, and I said it was a win-win for both teams as far as on the court play goes. Kyrie obviously needs to go out and play, and he's got a lot of things going on, but it's a win-win for both teams. And you could see both teams playing. They make that trade, and they end up playing each other in the conference finals because of it. But it's to me that came back up.
Yeah, I think Kyrie just needs to get back out there. Before we talked about it, I said I was on his side. It's been long enough now. Your point has been made. I think it's time for him to get out there.
He's been weird about it. He's been weird about it too, though. Now it's just turning into a whole other thing that's just been interesting. Harden, it's clearly hurting the Brooklyn Nets, even though they're in first place in the East. When you watch them play, like Harden, even in a post-game interview, said he's been struggling with figuring out times to, just get his assists going and setting people up, and then just going out and scoring. And we saw last year that wasn't a thing because he wasn't focused on scoring. Everything was him really being the point guard for that team and letting Kyrie and Kevin do what they do. So when you hear comments like that, do you see like what Kyrie is doing is really hurting the Nets more than we realize, and maybe they're a little more frustrated with him than we think?
Maybe a little bit. I think with Kyrie being there, maybe James Harden thought he can play his way into shape. With Kyrie being out, a lot more was thrust onto him. And at this point right now, it's kind of just Kevin Durant out there and James Harden every now and then. Uh they've when you have Kevin Durant, top player, second player, whatever, you're gonna beat a lot of teams. But if you see how they looked against some of the top teams, Warriors, Chicago the other day, they I don't think they won much of those games. So I think that's where they're struggling at, and that's where they need those guys to step up the most. Blake Griffin has now been benched and different things like that. So it's really Kevin Durant right now carrying the load. James Harden seems like he's now starting to play better, get into shape. But I think that's part of the problem with him. He thought, or maybe how he thought it would work out is KD, Kyrie, handle most of it. I'll play my way into shape. Kyrie not there. He had to play his way into shape faster. Obviously, some people think the change of calls and things like that, but I think that's part of it. So now he's getting his rhythm back a little bit, and hopefully they can turn this thing around.
I didn't even see this. Kenny Stills, once a part of Colin Kaepernick's big movement, was just waived by the Saints. After like a key drop the other day. That's a little crazy.
CJ McCollum is hurt.
Yeah, he punctured lung.
Time to blow it up.
Well, you know,
No,
you're gonna,
no CJ. Take it from the top.
what is I don't know where to go with this. You got anything to add for that? I might be done with the show. I know this is like impromptu, but
No, I don't have anything.
I got something for you before we get out of here. Moving back to football, my last thing. Caserio, the general manager for the Houston Texans, had no comment in regard when he was asked about Stephen Culley's future going forward with the franchise. Stephen Culley was just hired last summer, and it was really the straw that broke the camel's back as far as the relationship with Deshaun Watson. What do we think about the Houston Texans if they fire this guy? After all of that.
I don't. I don't know. It's tough to say because, like you said, it kind of hurt the relationship with Deshaun Watson. But you see how this Deshaun Watson situation is kind of playing out right now. So it's obviously you would want a better relationship with him right now, but the relationship was probably going to be tainted anyway if all this came out. So I think we bring it up here all the time. Different sports, you got to listen to your star players, keep those guys happy. It just looks like it backfired in their face now, and that's kind of what it is to me. Seems like a little backfire in their face, and you ruined your relationship with your best player. But it is what
Yeah.
it is.
And I mean, you said things aren't looking great for Deshaun Watson. They're actually, like I said, from what I heard, really bad now. But none of this probably comes out if he says he wants to leave Houston. So,
Possibly, but who knows? Well, it's a mute point at this point. So if they get rid of him, because he's also put in a tough situation. I'm pretty sure he thought he was coming in to coach Deshaun Watson. Obviously,
he did. Like he was making himself look stupid because or originally he was answering questions like Deshaun Watson's here and coach, and then I guess eventually they just instructed him stop saying that because now it doesn't look like he's coming back.
so he was put in a tough spot. He doesn't have the team's best player, so if we get rid of him, it's kind of like I guess they feel like it's not working. Then, like I said, in the sense of it seems like it backfired in their face.
Yeah. Most definitely, man. You got anything else before we get out of here, Kay?
No, that is it for me, guys. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Want to thank you guys for tuning in again. Nice comeback show for us. I hope you guys enjoyed the IG live I did 2 weeks ago with Mike. That was definitely fun. Definitely got to get Mike back on. We might be doing the Twitter space thing here pretty soon as well for like some different content. If you guys want to get in on that with us, you can follow us at Rich Report 94. Is it K Davis 75 _ on Twitter, right?
Yeah, on everything, honestly.
And then, of course, Mike on the mic. We will be giving you guys some other content in different platforms here soon. But again, great show this week, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.